Welcome to Shading Forms with Mrs. Castillo. Today we're going to be focusing on the pyramid and a cone. And again, we are using the blending technique. So remember, blending in circular motions, not in lines back and forth. We don't want to see the lines. Also remember, we should never be smudging with our fingers. That gets oils on the paper and it leaves a dirty kind of look instead of using tools or using the pencil to blend.
I'm going to start with the pyramid today because that has all flat surfaces or flat sides, just like the cube did. And to draw a pyramid, you start with your basic triangle. It can be skinny, it can be fat, it can be whatever size you want it to be. But you start with your triangle and then you're going to draw a line starting from the top point off to the left or off to the right. I'm going to go off to the left, and you want to go out at an angle and don't go all the way down to the bottom. So whenever you connect the last 2 points, it goes up at an angle and it's like you see part of that side. It shouldn't be flat all the way across the bottom. Then we need to pay attention, of course, to our light source. I'm going to have mine coming from the top right. So the side that the light is hitting the most is actually unseen. That's that side that we as the viewer can't see right now. But we do know that there is some light hitting the front one, and then the darkest one is going to be on the opposite, always on the opposite side. So shade that in your darkest color. Then we know that the side that's facing us kind of has a middle tone, a middle value. It's getting some light, but not the direct light. So it'll be somewhere in between the brightest and the darkest. So you can go ahead and shade that in, again using your blending technique, circular motions. And then we're ready to go ahead and add our cast shadow. So the shadow that comes off the object, completely opposite of the light. So I know that it's hitting that kind of upper right rim or edge. So we're going to have a line for that. And then the upper left edge of rim, just making a triangular shadow. Again, we're going to be making it darkest right where the form sits on the surface. So that's where you're going to be shading the absolute darkest because there's no light hitting there whatsoever. And then as you get out further away from the object, it's going to get a little bit lighter, and then we'll talk about reflective light in just a second. I talk about this in some of my other videos too, but anytime you've got light in a room, it's going to bounce off the objects in the room as well as the surface of the form. So here we can see the light bouncing off of the floor and onto our middle tone or middle value side and our dark side as well. So we're going to add just a slight highlight there, nothing too bright. Just to give it a really realistic look, taking into account the light that's bouncing off of the surface and other objects in the room. Clean it up wherever you need to, and there you have your shaded form of a pyramid with cast shadow. The next form we're going to be shading is the cone, a little bit similar to the pyramid in the way we start drawing it, at least with a triangle for the top left and top right. But the bottom, we don't have a straight line. We actually have a curved line. And this is to help show that this is a rounded edge. So we don't have any really flat edges other than the one that's sitting on the surface, and we don't see that one. I'm going to put my light source in the top left, and I'm going to know that my light will be hitting it then the left side of the form the brightest, which is why I come back and erase it there so that I have a really light mark. My shading, my values are going to be very, very light on that side and then get darker. Again, we need to account for reflective light off of walls, off of the surface it's sitting on, if there's other objects in the room. So really try to imagine those light rays as they bounce on and off of things. I'm going to leave a little bit of a highlight on my very far right. Now typically our darkest areas are the opposite of the light source. So I'm going to put my core shadow almost completely opposite on that right side, but leaving a little bit of lightness there for my highlight. And then, so again, my darkest part here, my core shadow on that right side, except for the very edge. And then as I get closer to the left side, I'm going to do a gradient into my middle tones and then to the light tones, or the light values. So we're going from dark, middle to light value. All that happens not because we're blending with a tool or our finger, but with the pressure of our pencil. And using the blending technique with the circular motions, we don't get any hard lines that stop our eye as it fades across. So again, that pressure of your pencil, harder pressure on the darker parts and lighter pressure as you get lighter. And of course we need to add our cast shadow. This one is going to be a triangle shadow as well because there's only 2 edges for it to hit. At the base of the form should be the darkest shadow where no light is hitting, and then as you get further away, again we're blending in that gradient, getting lighter as we go further away from the object.